So the marine products that the National Weather Service issues include a 5-day marine forecast. The marine forecast forecasts conditions of wind direction, wind speed, wave height forecasts, bay condition forecasts, and also any kind of significant weather that would be occurring during the time frame. The forecasts are issued during daylight savings time at 4:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 4:30 p.m., and 10:30 p.m. During regular time and after time changes back in the fall, winter, and early spring, the forecasts are issued at 3:30 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 3:30 p.m., and 4:30 p.m. There's a tide product that goes out at 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. each day that has the tide times for the next few days at Port O'Connor and Port Aransas, as well as water temperatures in those areas. There's also marine advisories and warnings, and these can be broken up into two separate groups. Short fused advisories and warnings for when advisory or warning criteria is expected to be met for less than 2 hours. And then there's longer fused advisories and warnings for when conditions are expected to last 2 hours or more. We also issue marine weather statements for a variety of reasons, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. So the long fused, looking specific at the long fused warnings and advisories, long fused warnings and advisories are issued through the coastal water forecast by putting a headline in the forecast. The forecast is updated as needed in addition to the regularly scheduled times in order to update advisories and warnings that may be in effect. So here's just some of the typical advisories and warnings that you may see issued through the coastal water forecast: small craft advisories, gale warnings, storm warnings. Of course, then you have your tropical storm and hurricane storm watches and warnings, and dense fog advisories also could be issued through a marine weather statement. Specifically looking at small craft advisories are issued when wind speeds are expected to be between 20 and 33 knots, or if seas in the offshore groups are expected to be 7 feet or higher. Again, this is when conditions are expected to be meet these criteria for 2 hours or more. And looking just at a typical, maybe what we would consider a small craft, you're basically thinking about these open cabin boats that are maybe less than 23 feet. Most of your center console fishing boats out there, what we would consider small craft in the bays, basically in 14 to 23 foot boats. So looking at the other warning criteria for the long fused warnings, we have gale warnings. Those are for wind speeds of 34 to 47 knots for 2 hours or more. Gale warnings are issued probably a couple times a year on average in the coastal bend, typically associated with very strong cold fronts. Storm warnings are for wind speeds of 43 to 63 knots, or 48 to 63 knots. And these are very rare, and I don't know that I've ever seen a storm warning issued in the coastal bend. Now, tropical storm warnings are not uncommon in this area, and that's for wind speeds of 34 to 63 knots associated with a tropical system. And then hurricane warnings are issued for wind speeds of 64 knots or higher when it's associated with a tropical system or a hurricane. So looking at the thunderstorm warning products, or the short fused warning products, thunderstorms are dangerous for mariners, as we spoke earlier, as they can quickly produce a multitude of hazardous conditions. Very quick, strong wind shifts can occur with these. Hail, very heavy rain, torrential downpours. So thunderstorms, again, like we mentioned, very dangerous. And in this case, the radar here showing a squall line moving offshore along the coast. And this is the most dangerous type situation, is a squall line that's moving offshore like this. For one thing, our strongest thunderstorms typically would occur like this, moving from west to east, moving offshores maybe in the fall, winter, or spring, when we've got a strong upper system causing thunderstorms to move offshore. But the reason that another reason these are so dangerous is anybody that's operating out here in the open water and having to get back to a dock that's over land, you can see these thunderstorms can quickly get between a boat and land. And so there's basically nowhere to go if the storms manage to get between a boat and the dock. Special marine warnings are the products that the National Weather Service uses to warn about strong thunderstorms that may be affecting marine areas. This is kind of a cousin to the land-based thunderstorm warning, which would be a severe thunderstorm warning. Severe thunderstorm warnings are issued for inland counties or for land counties, and they are issued for wind speeds of 50 knots or more, or hail that could be penny size or higher. Because mariners are so susceptible to winds, special marine warnings have a little lower criteria for wind speed to issue a special marine warning. So they're issued for winds that are sustained or gusting to 34 knots or higher, which is 39 miles an hour or higher, or if there's penny size hail or larger, the same as a severe thunderstorm warning would be, or if there was a water spout that was reported or that the radar detected. These would all be criteria for issuing a special marine warning. And again, typically for issuing these, we're expecting that the conditions are going to last at any given point less than 2 hours. We try to give as much notice as possible, knowing that boats can take a long time to get off the water. And when possible, if we can give 1 or 2 hours notice of, especially if you've got a strong squall line moving offshore, then we do so. But many times this is not possible. Thunderstorms may generate and become strong very quickly, and we just can't give that much lead time. But whenever possible, there's as much lead time as is possible given on these. Marine weather statements, you can see an example of a marine weather statement here. They're issued to update special marine warnings. That's their main purpose. Special marine warnings may be in effect for 1, 2, or even longer, even more hours. And so marine weather statements are issued after the special marine warning is issued in order to provide more updated information on the storms. Marine weather statements are also used to provide detailed information about other marine hazards not adequately covered by other forecasts and warnings. So if there's an oil spill or a hazmat situation, we may issue a marine weather statement. In addition, marine weather statements are used to provide advance notice or details on a significant weather event that may affect the region. So if there's a very strong cold front that we're expected to move offshore later in the day, we may issue a marine weather statement ahead of time in order to provide maybe greater detail on the timing of when the front may arrive and exactly what kind of winds to expect. Of course, the winds would be already in the coastal water forecast, but the marine weather statement can be issued to just provide a little better idea of the timing of when the front may arrive, and provides just a little advance notice of a strong system that's going to affect the area.